this morning. I want to get our week started by telling you some things that are really important to me. We call it Fay What's on my mind. You know what's on my mind? The Kinsey scale is on my mind, bitches. So I have a friend that is always screaming, I'm a full Kinsey 6 because I came out C-section. I wasn't even near a vagina. And that is the most butch that Greg Shapiro has ever heard, okay? That is my friend Greg Shapiro that always says things like that. So since I didn't know what the hell that was the first time that he said it, I figured why not make it what's on my mind? Let's learn about this Kinsey scale that everybody talks about, all right? So thanks to decades of activism and research and LGBTQ plus individuals sharing their own lived experiences, it's become common knowledge that sexuality is a spectrum. Or in other words, less black or white and a little more like a rainbow with infinite shades. There are tons of ways to discover and explore the many hues that exist under the LGBTQ plus umbrella. But one of the earliest ways to measure was the Kinsey scale. So the scale was created by biologist Alfred Kinsey in 1948. Kinsey suggested that some individuals might be exclusively heterosexual, or a 0 on the scale, and others might be exclusively homosexual, a 6 on the scale. But many people fit somewhere between the two numbers. Let's be clear that people recommend to avoid the word homosexual, okay? But to describe the Kinsey scale as accurately as we can, I feel it's necessary to replicate the exact way that they used to do it back in the day, okay? So at the time that the scale came out, it was groundbreaking. But today, it's still a tool that helps many people realize they might not be 0s or 6s. The Kinsey scale often helps individuals who have only ever seen the two extremes of the scale realize that it is not only possible, but also normal to identify as somewhere in the middle of the scale. It can also be a helpful tool when explaining your identity to a loved one. That said, there's no metric or system that can account for every person's individual identity, okay? Understand that. And capture the beautiful diversity and the diverse range of experiences, feelings, and identities out there. Scales are meant to be a first step, but each person is unique and each person's identity is valid. I wanted to make that clear, okay? So what is the scale exactly, and is it even still relevant today? The numbers. So 0 is exclusively heterosexual, okay? That is attracted to people who don't share your gender identity. 1, predominantly heterosexual, but occasionally inclined to same gender attraction. 2, predominantly heterosexual, but sometimes inclined to same gender attraction. 3, equally attracted to people who share and people who don't share your gender identity. 4, predominantly homosexual, but sometimes inclined to different gender attraction. 5, predominantly homosexual, but occasionally inclined to different gender attraction. And 6, exclusively homosexual, that is attracted to people who share your gender identity, period, okay? So, that's basically what the scale is. And there's no official test that you can take to gauge your number on the scale. It's more of a gut check, so to speak. So the best way to use the Kinsey scale, if you'd like to, is to just choose the number that feels right to you. Your number can also change over time or even day by day. Remember though, there's no pressure to fit yourself into a category or align perfectly with a number on this scale. The Kinsey scale can certainly help you if you're struggling to figure out how you identify or trying to put your sexuality into words. But it should never, ever, ever be an end all, be all. Okay, there are also plenty of issues and limitations with the scale too. More on that in a little bit. So what's the history of the Kinsey scale? Well, Alfred Kinsey, along with his colleagues, Wardell Pomeroy and Clyde Martin, conceptualized the Kinsey scale, at the time known as the heterosexual-homosexual rating scale, after interviewing thousands of people about their sexual experiences, desires, and thoughts. They concluded that there were many individuals whose sexualities might not be categorized as heterosexual or homosexual, and published their findings back in 1948 in a book called Sexual Behavior in the Human Male. There it is, all right? So what are some of the limitations of the Kinsey scale? Well, at the time of the invention, the Kinsey scale was groundbreaking simply because it acknowledged identities beyond gay and straight, but it still has limitations and flaws. The scale is meant to be easy to understand, but in doing so, it lacks a lot, to me, that comes with a person's identity. Like, for example, bisexuality. Bisexuality isn't a halfway point between gay and straight. The Kinsey scale places same gender and different gender attraction in opposition to each other. But this isn't exactly the most accurate way to look at bisexuality and similar sexual orientations, okay? So it's got its limitations, okay? Also, the scale doesn't account for people on the asexual spectrum. So there it is. There is all you need to know on the Kinsey scale. Don't you feel more smarter. Yeah, and now where are you? Like, do you still think that you are a 6? Do you still think that you are a 1? And does it really matter? As long as you are who you are, love is love, and that's it, right? We are love and love is love. And I wonder why they don't have this for women. I'm gonna start the Choach scale. Maybe something like that. I think that'll work, right? I'll look into that. Well, so did you enjoy the show? I know you did. So make sure to click subscribe so you won't miss any of the events, news, or interviews right here on the Fay What Show. Ring the bell at the bottom of the screen, right there, so you'll be alerted every time we're live. You can also click on the Happening Out Television Network logo so you can see all of the shows on the most diverse LGBTQ+ media network. Find out just what we're doing to bring the L and the G together right here on the Fay What Show. Get the week started with me.